All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. Tonight, Kara and we are discussing nuclear missiles. All right, let's get into our
Let's
stories.
talk
We're
about
gonna
it. Yeah.
we're gonna cover three nuclear stories here today. Number one is from NPR.org. There are still around 650 missing Nazi uranium cubes, completely unaccounted for. At the time of Hitler's rise, Germany was actually at the cutting edge of nuclear technology. Nuclear fission was discovered in Berlin in late 1938. They were the first team of people who figured out how to split the atom and figured out that when you split the atom, a lot of energy was going to be released. But back in World War II, it was all theoretical. To find out how this could work, the Germans devised a strange looking experiment with a bunch of cubes hanging from what looked like a chandelier. The chandelier was dipped into a cylindrical tank of heavy water, which contained special isotopes of hydrogen that make it more conductive to nuclear reactions. The setup was known as the B8 reactor. The Germans were experimenting with it inside a cave in southern town of German Place. They were still trying to get it to work when the Allied invasion began. As Allied forces approached, the German scientists disassembled the reactor and buried the cubes in a field. Although the Nazi scientists quickly disclosed the location of the buried cubes to the Allies, it's not entirely clear what happened to all the cubes here once we had them, and it's assumed that maybe they were put into our own nuclear arsenal.
Yeah, I hope that's what happened, and they're not just in a German farmhouse somewhere.
Well, what this really makes me think of is all the speculation that went into German technology.
Sure.
Because we're into the mysterious and the conspiracious here. That whole era of German technology. What we do know is that we were at a race to get the nuclear bomb.
Sure.
With Germany, and they were literally months out, and they could have beat us to the bomb. And pretty much the bomb is what made the world surrender, was the fact that we had it and we used it.
Yeah, theoretically.
Yeah, fear is a great motivator.
Yeah. Well, at that point, it was only Japan. Germany was already done for. So really, it's the bomb that made Japan surrender.
Yeah, but I also think it made a lot of people stand down.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think it's not like the conflict between us and the USSR was over at the end of World War II. It was just like, okay, everyone take a pause. This is getting crazy.
Right. But, if anything, ramped up at that point. But it does make me think about what the Germans actually had.
Yeah, there's so many of these conspiracy. There's so many theories about all the crazy technology the Germans might have had, which is funny because from a historical standpoint, the Germans were worse at science than most other people at the time. And what I mean by that, and it changed as World War II approached a little bit because they were ramping up for war, but like the theory of relativity, which a crucial component of like understanding why E equals mc squared, all of that, a crucial component of understanding nuclear processes. It was the official position of the Nazi Party for a while that was Jewish science and was bad and evil and wrong. They hated that because it was too new. They were traditionalists,
right,
and a lot of stuff like that. There was a lot of like new developments in architecture that Hitler, like, they micromanaged the science and the arts in the Third Reich to a spectacular degree, and really just stamped out all innovation.
With the totalitarian,
why a lot of those guys went to the United States
and Russia.
And Russia, yeah.
In a totalitarianism, it makes sense to micromanage and control the arts and messaging like that. But to stop science because it's Jew science is like, Well, it's kind of like treating it like a religion when it's really not. So, I mean, here's crazy ass Hitler running to the other side of the planet to get the spear of destiny or whatever the hell they're looking for. Yet they're not willing to do proven mathematical science because it might have come from some Jewish people. I don't know. It seems you deserve to lose the war at that point. Not that you didn't already, but now doubly.
Here's the thing about fascists, and I think this is maybe salient today. I don't know. It might have something. By and large, people who are fascists in the sense of, believing in ethno-nationalist authoritarian ideals are crazy conspiracy loons.
Yeah.
By and large, these people are not terribly with it in terms of engaging with reality. So
not progressive in keeping up with the changes, and I get that. Yeah.
So yeah, if these guys were smart, they would have done a lot of stuff differently. But if they were smart, they couldn't have taken over Germany because this fascism requires a certain amount of anti-intellectualism as an ideology. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Well, they did beat us to one invention. I mean, they had the VR rockets.
They were good at rockets. I will give them that. I mean,
but that's old science, right? At that point, that's old.
Well, it's all based on classical Newtonian mechanics. The other thing that there's also this, in pop culture, there's this thing like, who knows what crazy things they learned from the horrible, unethical experiments they were doing in the concentration camps. But anyone who studied those experiments knows that they are useless in science. They produced no data because their methodology was sloppy and they weren't studying anything. They were just torturing people and calling it science. And it was all motivated by outdated, crazy racial ideologies. So it was built on flawed premises and done badly. And so everyone in the field knows nothing useful came out of any of that.
Right.
But in pop culture, there's this idea that something did.
And I guess you're right. But the rockets did, but other than that, you're right. They work sort of like the world's forerunner in phrenology or whatever in the world's most useless sciences.
They were, they were very 1870s, 1890s. They were clinging on to 19th century stuff.
Well, that's good for us.
Way the heck into the 30s. Yeah. So no wonder we won.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. Because to me, tying cubes to an airplane and then dipping them in hard water and stuff like that seems like alchemy, not science.
Yeah, well, I've no doubt that this invention probably, as you said, they were close. But by that point, they were gearing up for war. So I guess that maybe practicality took the forefront a little bit. And they weren't unified either necessarily. There were a lot of factions within the Nazis with a lot of different ideas, and some were more sane than others. They were all horrible, of course.
And I mean, that's an argument for not being a jerk, because all these Jews with their Jew science were probably not dying to share their Jew science with you ananyway. So they came to him and they're just, we want you. And they're just all, what? I don't know nothing,
or they've left the country by then.
Right. Yeah. And I cannot say that I blame them.
Yeah.
And by the way, anybody out there, I've heard people get weird when I use the word Jew. Jew is fine as long as it's not used as a verb. If you use it as a verb, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, not a shocking tale, but an interesting one.
Yeah, I want to know where these things went. I'm concerned.
Me too. All right. So after this break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about an article from history.com. Why have there been so many UFO sightings near nuclear facilities? Something that has been a regular topic in the UFO community for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're going to tackle it next. We're going to solve this in 10 minutes.